We are delighted to be here in the kitchen with Amanda Virgillito. She's with Porta Via Italian Kitchen, and we are making a yummy recipe for Italian wedding soup. Tell me about the name.
Well, a lot of people will sort of joke that Italian wedding soup has to do with weddings, and Gio, the chef at Porta Via, says that it actually is served in wedding parties sometimes in his village at home. But from what I understand, it's more about the marriage of the flavors in the soup and how well they work together. So that's where the name came from.
Well, it smells wonderful. We start first with some meatballs, and you've already made these ahead of time, but talk us through the process.
Okay, so it's your simple, if you've made meatballs for spaghetti sauce or meatloaf, at home before, it's the same sort of thing. This is a mixture of ground beef and ground chicken. You have some, cheese and egg and the binders, and the best part is to make them, really super tiny so they're perfect for the soup. You brown them in a skillet, and then you want to pop them in the oven to kind of, I know it seems counterintuitive to dry them out, but since you're adding them back in the soup, you kind of want to dry them a little bit, and you kind of keep them
so they won't fall apart.
So they won't fall apart, exactly.
Okay, that looks great. So those are all ready to go. Right. We're going to start working on our soup broth. You've got the vegetables already cooking in the bottom. What's in there?
So we have, our trinity. So it's our celery, our onion, and carrot that's been sort of cooking down and getting nice and soft with a little bit of the stock and a little bit of oil. And so we're going to add the rest of our stock in, which has our bay leaves kind of soaking in it just to get our good flavor going.
It smells fantastic.
And so ideally, if you're making this at home, your stock can be sort of simmering away while you're making your meatballs. It's kind of the two steps can go hand in hand, and it makes it a really easy, kind of carefree sort of meal for the weeknight.
Yeah.
So the next thing you'll do then, as your stock is sort of nice and hot, is you'll add your meatballs into this, can kind of start simmering into the stock.
And they'll pick up all the flavors.
They'll pick up all the flavors, right. And one thing that Chef recommended is if you don't make your own chicken stock, you buy the canned, he encourages you to use part chicken in the meatballs because that will sort of pull the flavor into the stock and make it taste a little more homemade.
Oh, that's a great idea. This is such a great wintertime soup, I would think.
Absolutely. And you can make it sort of a light, first course by just the meatballs and the vegetables, and sometimes people will add like little tiny pasta in there too to make it more of a main course meal.
Would be good.
Certainly the type of thing you can make at home if you want to impress somebody over dinner.
Oh, this would be very impressive, I would think.
Yeah. So one thing that, once this gets sort of nice and hot, the one thing you want to do is we have our chopped spinach. You can use any green you want. You want to make sure it's finely chopped, and you want to add it fairly close to the end because it'll retain that nice vibrant color and freshness.
So for the purposes of TV, we're going to dump it in right now.
We're going to dump it in right now, of course, but that would normally come in kind of at the end.
And there's an interesting thing you're adding at the very end when you're serving.
So this sort of, it adds a richness to the dish, and it's sort of, again, for home cooks who want to kind of do like an easy, want to kind of a show-off skill. All this is a couple of eggs and some freshly grated Parmesan that's just very loosely beaten. And as the soup, right before you serve it, while it's simmering, you just kind of want to drizzle that in. And it cooks right into the soup,
so
and
it's thickening it up.
It thickens it up. It adds, this nice salty, cheesy flavor. And again, it's sort of this super simple show-off technique that makes your soup, very hearty and rich and delicious.
So while you're showing off, tell us about the Valentine's plans at Porta Via.
So this soup will actually be featured on our special Valentine's Day menu. So we're doing a 3-course meal at both locations on Valentine's. That is, Chef is still kind of tweaking the menu, but it's a really fantastic price point. 3 courses for $35.
Nice.
And includes items like lobster risotto, filet mignon, a panna cotta that's made with blood oranges and passion fruit, I think, and then of course our homemade gelatos and pastas and that sort of thing. So.
You always get a great meal there. This is recipe number 5301. Porta Via Italian Kitchen has 2 locations, White Bridge Road and Cool Springs. We're going to link you to Eat at Porta Via for all the details. Thanks so much, Amanda.
Thank you, Meryl.
This looks delicious.